Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Welcome back, everyone. It's the A.O. The A.O. show. We got an extra O in there today on Conroe's 106.1 and 104.5, irlonestar.com, and available wherever you get your podcast from. I'm Andrew, next to the guy who is intimidated by Little League baseball players, Dick Schisler.
It's true that they're pretty fast.
They're big, man. They're big. Are you scared of the little ones too, or just the beefy ones?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
I think you just have a general fear of children.
No, just when they're playing baseball.
Yeah, it is kind of intimidating when you're playing kids and they're better. Yeah, like playing kids at sports and they're better than you at that sport. It's got to be really, really like a mind bender.
Yeah, that happened in soccer.
You go to the, oh yeah?
Oh yeah. I used to play those, I guess, what do they call it, recreational leagues and stuff like that. And we played a full field. It was a full FIFA approved field, so it was 11 on 11. And every time we played a team that had they're our age, this should be fun. Mm-hmm. But then there's a couple of them who get they get the 20-year-olds, and they just sub. They just show up to the soccer field I want to play, play, and they have to pay, and they're way too fast, way too good,
sure, and in shape,
not
hungover,
and that's when you shove them.
You have nothing else to defend yourself with except for just violence.
Well, yeah, I that's what I ended up doing a lot
funny.
with the kids. It's like, you know what? If this kid's going to try to, I'm just going to put my body into him. Like, oh, he ran into me.
Yeah, there's nothing more demoralizing than going to the elementary school in the 8-foot rims and being like, I'm going to dominate. And then you just get routed.
Well, I don't never done that. I meant on an actual.
Yeah. I mean, hypothetically. I mean, yeah, I've never done that either. I mean, what do you mean? Hypothetically, of course.
But yeah, did you have a good Labor Day?
We made it through Labor Day. Yeah, it was good. I played a little golf, did a little relaxing. It was nice, man. Jumped in the pool a few times. Ate a little barbecue. How about yourself, man?
Yeah, I went to Louisiana. Second time gambled ever. I lost all my money. The station's now going to be closed tomorrow because of the sell equipment. No, I'm just kidding. No, we went to Louisiana, made some barbecue, hung out with family. It was a nice, simple Labor Day.
What did you lose all your money on?
Slot machines, man.
I've heard that those aren't really very good odds, Dick.
Well, it was funny is I've never done slot machines, so
you got to do them at least once.
I was having fun, and I noticed, I was like, oh, people who are winning are not betting like $1. They're betting $5 a bet. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I gotta just try that. And I won.
How'd that work out for you?
No, I was up most of the time, and then the last hour, I just go, screw it. Let's just see what happens. And I think that's from what I understand. If you really want to make money at slot machines, you got to do the $25 bets.
$25? Ooh, that's high stakes stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing true penny slots, which doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, penny slots, you're playing 100 credits, which is $1 a pull these days. But there are a few you can find. If you're going to play pennies, you can be there all day, but you're not going to win anything.
Yeah.
It's just
it was fun,
because you're not betting anything.
It was a good experience. We went to Le Berge. One thing I loved going there, because I've never been there before, and the friend I was with is a very experienced, I wouldn't say gambler, but just he just knows
what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing. So
he's got
I watched
the Midas
him.
touch on the button for the slot machine.
Yeah, I mean, he just knows when to quit. That's what he told me.
That is key.
He literally goes, this is so funny. He was like a guardian angel that I didn't listen to. I was up, and he goes, hey, man, when you're hot, you might want to just consider stopping. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Dun, 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 dun. And then I was like, and then the next 45 minutes, I go, I'm out of money. He's like, how did you run out of money? You were up so much. And I was like, I don't know. I was having fun. And
did he hand you a pamphlet that said know when to say when? Know when to stop. I always see those in the casinos, and you're like, throw those out the window, pound the button, more money, more money.
Well, yeah, that was one of my favorite things was driving in, you see all the signs, and then the bottom of every billboard, it's like, if you have a problem, call this number. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? What's really funny about that is that's such a backhanded way to help somebody. And I was thinking, it's kind of like the cigarette thing where, like in Australia, when you get a pack of cigarettes, it has like dying children on it or whatever it is.
I wasn't aware they did that.
Well,
that sounds awesome.
I think they have like pictures of like, lungs that have
on the pack of cigarettes.
Like on the pack of cigarettes. And I was thinking about, and like
that's amazing.
And I walk into LeBerge, and I was like, well, those guys didn't care at all about that phone number at all. And I was amazed at the different variety of people. Because
there are all kinds at the casino.
Yeah, because it's the second time I've ever gambled, and the people sitting at the tables for like the card games and stuff, it was too intense. Like I was thinking of learning how to play blackjack, and then I kind of approached the table, and I was like, no way. Like these people
I think you need to practice at home with your friends. Learn how to make bets, learn how to be consistent, and get that out of your system
I
first.
think it's more of an etiquette
thing. Because you don't want to
thing.
learn.
It's more of an etiquette thing, I feel like, because I would do the wrong kind of
absolutely.
thing,
And you can lose money for the rest of the table. You don't want to be learning when people have potentially hundreds of dollars out there, and they're looking at you like, who's this guy who's hitting on 18,
And what I love about LeBerge in Louisiana, that's where we went, and the circle of all the slot machines, you could tell how old they were. Mm-hmm. And what it reminded me of is like those kind of places where they've been around for 40 years and they're just trying to make everything kind of work, like the door hinges and everything. Cause,
they're trying to make door hinges work.
Well, you know what I'm talking about? Where like you go to the bathroom, like, oh, clearly this has been remodeled 9 times because it's flooded and all this kind of stuff. Because some of those machines look so old, and the panels on it, and they try to like I bet there's so many rules and regulations for that kind of stuff.
Sure.
That's like, oh yeah, you have to have this sign on here, you have to have this thing, and especially with technology being changing so fast, I was like, I wonder whose job it is. He probably gets paid bank to maintain these slot machines that are 20 years old.
Yeah.
Make sure they're up to code, and they allow the little card.
You would think, though, that a place like that has old slot machines has already paid off those machines and would have a little bit looser odds,
I'm not worried.
They don't have brand new machines that got to pay off.
Well, I'm not saying pay off. I meant more of just maintain.
Oh, yeah. No, I know
I'm talking like there
was
a machine I guarantee you was early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And you could tell they didn't want to change the lights up top. So the lights were tinted. That old, like it's been out in the sun kind of tinted. And I was just like, this is like really.
They probably got it off of another place, right? And after they sell their old ones, they probably buy them for cheap.
I don't really know quality of casinos because I've never been to a lot of casinos.
Oh, there's some pretty nice ones.
I've been to 2. And this one, I was like, oh, this is really cool. But when I started looking at all the machines, I was like, man, they really try to make these last. And I was like, there's some guy in Louisiana
making them money.
That's the top mechanic.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like,
absolutely.
That's how I make my money. I probably live in a cool house on stilts on the water and just kind of like get a phone call and I work. Because they don't ever close it. I didn't know that.
No, man.
I did not know that.
24/7, 365, those casinos. They never want to miss a moment.
I mean,
potential moment.
I get because we woke up at like 5:36
open,
and we leave, and I was like, "Oh, they're open. That's interesting." And
they don't close.
And I was like, "I need to get some coffee though." And my buddy's like, "Oh, coffee's inside the casino." I'm like, "They're gonna get me if I go in there."
Yeah, don't let me go in there, man. Don't let me go in there. Hold me back. Hold me back.
I need to call that phone number.
Exactly.
But I could totally see why people have problems. Because I don't think I'm ever really going to gamble again. Because it was fun with my buddy. If I was going by myself, I would never go by myself. Like if you go, hey.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't go. I've never been to a casino by myself either.
And I don't think I've ever felt the urge to go. No. So, and I didn't get that bug. I did not feel like I needed to wake up and go gamble.
Yeah, I definitely would be picking up the pamphlet if I was going by myself. I think.
Yeah, one thing I was surprised about is how many foreigners were there.
Did that make you uncomfortable?
No, it was more of like what that place has to cater to. Because I ran into several people, like try to talk to them, did not speak any English.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was like, how does the casino deal with this? Like, do they have somebody that speaks Chinese or Arabic here?
I've noticed that too. It does tend to attract all kinds of people from all over the place.
It's awesome.
Every casino I've ever been in seems to be that way.
Oh, well, so the best. So my last story.
Hey, man. Story on, bro.
So we wake up.
We do have a talk show.
Well, we left real early because what my buddy says, he's going quick, getting hot, and get out fast. And I was like, okay, whatever. He's like, we're gonna leave like at 5, 6 a.m. And I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm totally cool. I won't drink that much. We're good. And no, we didn't. Like I was just having a good time. Well, we are waiting for the valet, and this is like right around 5:36.
The valet.
And
wow.
This car pulls up, and it is loud, like doon 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 doon, like just rap music blaring.
Windows open or closed?
Closed, but
You
when
still
he
hear
got out of the valet, it was bumping. And I was like,
yeah.
this guy's just gonna let that valet deal with it. What was great was he's walking by and he's wearing matching shirt and shorts that say billionaire on it, like over and over and over and over. And I look at my buddy and I go, can you imagine this guy waking up? He probably has been driving for X amount of hours to get here early, you know? And he's like, I got to go gamble, got my buddies, I got to get my outfit ready. And it just says billionaires. It looked like pajamas.
You know,
that's what it looked like to me.
I would venture to guess that most billionaires don't wear shirts that say billionaire on it. I'm gonna guess this guy makes $35K a year.
I don't care. I was like, all power to this guy because he was ready to have fun time.
Maybe he was about to go make his billions.
I mean, it was so funny, man. I'm just because we're sitting on we're just waiting for the valet. And of course, it's really early, so there's only like one dude working.
Yeah.
And
are you typically a valet?
No,
parker?
Actually, I asked him. I go, why are we getting valet? And he's like, man, they usually comp it or whatever. Like, he's a VIP there. He has like a card, and he got the room comped and all that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it was just imagine waking up and you're like half awake and you're sitting there and this guy pulls up right in front of you. Doom, 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 doom. I'm like, this is way too early for this. Who's this guy? And he gets out and he's just like walking. He's helping his buddy out of the car. I think it was his dad or something. And it was just this billionaire.
Yeah, buddy.
He's like, we have to wear something like that.
Do you typically, getting back to this valet talk, do you typically valet park? Are you one of these guys that valets whenever you can?
I'll valet if I go to certain areas, like in Houston, because I know where I am and I know like you're just not going to get a spot, and it's just so much easier.
It's kind of an odd concept if you think about it. You pull up to a place, you hand your keys off to someone you don't know. Right.
Oh, well,
and they're going to take your car to an unknown location.
So that's when I realized
it's kind of strange.
Not even that. Like, there's fancy cars that have valet-proof devices in it.
Meaning?
So, like I remember this is probably about 15 years ago, 20 years ago. My grandmother had a Mercedes, and I drove her every time because I could not be in the car with her when she was driving because she's my grandma. And we valeted. And she's like, can I see my key, please? And I was like, okay. I handed her the key, and this little tiny key came out.
Yeah, valet key.
The valet key, and she locks certain things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, what is that for? She's like, oh, it's for the valet. I'm like, they literally designed that just so people wouldn't steal your stuff?
Yeah, it's called a valet key so that you can keep things locked up in your glove box and things like that. I thought you meant something was like disabled the car from being used. I'm like,
no, it's just funny to me that someone goes, we had so many problems with valets. We have to design something for cars that people won't.
It is kind of strange. You're giving your...
Well, if you have a gun or something, I get it.
Anything of value, I guess, is really what it is. But, when I was on my guys' trip over the summer, we valeted. And I can understand valet parking when it's advantageous for you to do so, or maybe you're in a spot where parking is limited, or you're in a bad area, and if you park your car out on the street, you run the risk of it maybe getting broken into, etc. I get that. But where we were at, plentiful parking... It's just the guy who rented the car likes to valet. He's a valet guy. And we stood there multiple times, 15 to 25 minutes waiting on our car. And I'm seeing people walk out to the parking lot, get in their car and leave. And I'm just like, I'll go get the car for you, man. Like, this is not, it was so inconvenient. And then we had to pay for it. Well, they were just so busy, And I thought at a certain point, when do you just stop using valet, man? That's so annoying.
Especially in that parking lot.
We just stood there.
Well, one thing I want to let the Golden Nugget people and the LaBerge, y'all need to work on the front entryway.
Yeah, work on that.
Because it's very, plain. It's not exciting, but, when you drive up to the building, you're like, oh, this is a cool building. But, the drive there is, very... there's no signs. There's not
I mean, you still gambled and you still lost your money, even with that boring entry. So maybe they're like, we don't have to.
I just thought it was kind of weird. I just thought it was kind of weird. And, but yeah, valeting, I don't see a problem with it. But
no, I don't either. I just typically don't. I'm not a valet guy unless I have to or something.
Well, if you're in downtown, weird Philadelphia or something, I'm going to valet because I don't know where to go.
Right.
But, that's if you don't know where to go.
True.
Because you don't want to park in the wrong
That's
spot.
what I'm saying. You park in the wrong spot.
Like
You
in
come back
Houston-
and your car's up on blocks.
what I love are not the valet, but like the temporary parking spots. That have you seen that in Houston, like by Minute Maid?
I
Like
don't
when you go to the
know.
Astros game,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's like they just pop up and you have to pay to park.
Sure, yeah.
And apparently a lot of them are fake.
Oh.
And so people
Whoops.
just have signs and they're like sitting by like a torn down building lot or whatever. And
Yeah,
it's just
$5 to park your
$5
car here.
and he just takes.
And then somebody
And
probably
just walks
ends
off.
up towing your car later
Yeah.
because, oh, wow. That doesn't surprise me
I like
at
that.
all.
But yeah, like what do you think there's different for paying for parking and valeting? Because if you have the option to pay for parking or to valet, what would you do? Like you're pulling up and there's a fork.
Yeah,
And it's like,
good.
pay
the
$10
decision tree here.
or valet.
Are they the same cost?
I mean, you're probably a little bit more. You're not talking like
I'm probably still just going to pay to park. I don't know why. I'm just not a valet guy. Again, unless I know I'm in somewhere that's in the hood or I'm trying to impress a lady or something, maybe
Yeah.
I'll check this out. I'm going to spring for the $15
Well, like
valet
in
instead
the
of $10
Woodlands,
self-park.
Like in the Woodlands, I know the one parking lot that I always park in, and I'll always like if you go, hey, we're gonna go eat at Market Street or whatever, I'm always gonna park at this spot because I know how to get in and get out, and
Right.
it's quick. And but like I know it's gonna cost $10.
Cost of living, man.
So that's because you live in fancy town.
Yeah.
But but yeah, one thing I do want to say is I made the best brisket I've ever made,
Aw.
thanks to my buddy,
Yeah.
and
So
I learned.
we may have to have brisket talk because there's a whole art to it, man, and you can screw it up pretty easy.
Number one
Uh-oh,
that I've
here we go.
learned.
I guess we're gonna have brisket talk.
No, it's.
okay.
I just want to let like out of all of the cookers I've cooked on, you really need to go to either a charcoal or a wood, a side loader. That's the only way to achieve
as
like
opposed to
like a pellet
okay,
or electric.
right? Those are it's like cheating, but
Well, I
they
mean,
work.
like you will never get the same result. And if you're
Interesting.
looking,
I think it depends on what you're smoking
Like a
because
bear-
I've eaten things off of an
I'm talking about
electric
brisket.
smoker
I'm
that
talking
is
about
just
brisket.
that is just phenomenal.
You've eaten
But
a
a
brisket off of electric.
But no, I don't know that I've eaten a brisket on it though.
That sounds gross.
Yeah, I don't know that I have. I've eaten like ribs and chicken and things like that, and they turn out phenomenal. I don't think I've ever. I know.
That's the only thing I really know. Like I have confidence to educate people on. Like if you want the best kind of brisket ever, we heat like a barrel smoker or a side loader.
Well,
But
there you go. There's our Labor Day cooking talk.
yeah.
Offset cooking.
So did you pay attention to I Love Conroe at all over?
A little bit, not much. Like I said,
So-
I was kind of staying off that over the weekend. So
That's too bad. Well, I think a couple places have closed. The Rodeo Chicken that everyone has been talking about.
Oh
is
no!
closed for the month.
Oh no!
I guess. I don't.
What happened?
I don't know. And apparently,
Everybody likes chicken that rodeos.
well, that's people either hate it or love it.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. Did you hear that in the city of New York, speaking of Labor Day, they were flying drones over backyard parties to monitor them for like illegal activity? Yeah, and this is a CNN article, and I actually heard about it on the news, and I looked it up, and it's true. I just wonder how that would fly here in the great state of Texas, right? Because I've always heard, and this is
It
probably
wouldn't fly. They would literally be
they
shot
were
down.
shooting down with shotguns, right? Because I've always heard
Shotguns.
shotguns.
I think everyone would grab a gun and just start shooting at it.
Yeah, that's what
It wouldn't just
grab
be just a
shotgun.
shotgun. It'd
Okay,
be like, I got my
whatever.
pistol
Yeah,
on me.
pistol, shotgun, whatever. But I probably this is incorrect, but I've always heard that when you own property, you own the airspace above it, and I'm sure that's true to a certain extent, right? You probably don't own it all the way into outer space, right? I mean, there's airplanes that fly over
Well,
your house.
I think it depends on your HOA, your deed restrictions too, because you can't build a house. You can't build like a 7-story house in an neighborhood.
Oh, sure, yeah. But the
So-
airspace, though, so in other words, I'm sure if someone were to fly a drone 15 feet over your property, everyone's going to consider that like inappropriate. Oh no, that's my space. But at what point does it start to kind of fade to where it just becomes anybody's game? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a real estate person, but I just know that would not fly very well here in the state of Texas.
So I saw this article you were talking about with the drones.
Yeah.
My favorite part was so the idea behind the drones. If people don't know this, what they're trying to, the safety answer is, if they get a noise complaint, if they get whatever,
gathering.
They'll send the drone and make sure what's happening so they can justify going in. But you would.
Oh, this is a preemptive strike.
Yeah, that's what basically it's like. If I call, I go, hey, my neighbors are having a party.
Okay.
They get a drone.
Okay, I thought they were just flying over checking stuff.
Well, they
out.
probably are too. I mean, that we're talking about the police here. And
calls for loud music, disruptive behavior. And instead, the police having to respond, they look on those. Okay, it's having to utilize a drone from a safe
You didn't
distance.
even read the article you sent me. But what I love is this right here.
Well, parts of
They're
it.
going to utilize the drones to determine should they send crisis management teams there right away to help mitigate the problem. I don't know how I would react if somebody knocked on my door and be like, this is the New York crisis management team. I'd be like, what does that mean? Like, is there a gas leak?
Right.
Like, that's what I would think.
Well, we were monitoring your large gathering. Were you? Are we out of beer? Thank you for letting me know. Appreciate that, bud. Crisis diverted.
I just think that's so funny that they have to call it a crisis management team instead of just like the police.
Yeah, you got to fancy everything up, man. I mean, come on. Police is...
Well, okay, this is what's kind of confusing me with today's public service.
All right.
And it's not just public. Think about everyone you interact with.
Okay,
At
thinking about it
different
right now.
occupations and everything. So, like, think about a hospital. And think about how many classifications of nurses there are. And it gets to the point where it's confusing because you don't know, like me as a peasant over here, like I don't know anything about that world. And if someone's like, oh, I'm an LVN, I'd be like, does that mean you can't cut my arm off? Or you can? Like, what does it mean?
Does that mean you administer the medicine or you don't? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And everyone's wearing scrubs. So, like, I have no idea. And it says
Right, they need to like implement the papal hat thing, right? So it's like in the Catholic Church, isn't like the bigger the hat, the more important you are in the church. They need to have some sort of sign or some sort of garb on in the hospital to allow you to know, this nurse is more important than that nurse.
They probably do, but they don't, educate the public
like little
about
bars
it.
and stars, like the military on their side, so
See that?
she's a 5-star
and
nurse.
think about this crisis management team because it reminds me, what was that like? Before all those riots and everything, they were talking about sending social service people to houses instead of police. And I was thinking, is that just because they not qualified to carry a gun? Like, is that what makes them a social service person?
That and they probably have a degree in like social work. There you go. I don't know.
What I'm talking about? It's like
I guess.
because if someone came up to me and goes, "Oh, I work for the Conroe Police Department," I was like, "Oh, you're a police officer." "Oh no, I'm a social."
Well, yeah, they hire.
And I was like, "Okay, so you can't carry a gun."
No, yeah, I think there are people that work for. It's like civilians working for the U.S. Army.
Well, I mean,
same kind of concept. I think they can work for the police department as a clerk. But that doesn't mean they're going to pop a cap in someone.
But no, we're talking about putting people in the field. That's what they were talking about doing.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I don't know
okay,
the
that
rules,
sounds because I feel like you need to be trained in a weapon if
Yeah,
you're
I
going
would think
to a
so.
house.
And I ain't going to a house without a weapon. Let's just say that.
I mean, that's
Especially in New York, certain parts sounds kind of rough.
especially in this world.
True. I guess I say New York could be right here in Conroe. Some crazies going on. Last week we talked about the Japanese. What was his name? The Japanese robotic inventor Hiroshi Ishiguro. There we go. Sorry. And I said, I think we joked that we didn't know. We've never been to Japan. That likely could be a really popular name in Japan. Well, I looked up the most popular names in Japan. And of course, I could go on and on and on. But we're going to do the top 5 here because I figured that would probably be enough. But coming in at number 5, and this is from a 2008 study, so I guess information coming out of Japan is a little slow, but you can imagine it's probably about the same. But coming in at number 5 with 1.2 million people, Watanabe.
Okay.
All right. Not as cool as Ishiguro, in my opinion, but we'll see how far up the ranks Ishiguro is. Coming in at number 4 with 1.34 million people, Tanaka. Also, pretty awesome sounding. Sounds like all these sound like fighters to me. I don't know why, but somebody who knows how to use a sword. Number 3, 1.4 million people, Takahashi.
So these are first names, right?
These are last names. But
Okay.
I think over here, we give them... Wait, no, what is it, right? We say their last name first, or it's vice versa or something. I don't know either. Number 2, 1.9 million people, Suzuki. Now, that one I have heard a lot, so I can imagine that. Sure, that makes sense. And number 1, the most popular surname in Japan, with 1.99 million, Sato. So that's the Smith. That's the Smith of Japan, Sato.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I just thought let the onesies
I really
know.
needed to know that, and I'm going to remember everything you just said about that.
I mean, I thought it was kind of interesting. Come on.
I mean, if you met like a Smith, you wouldn't give him a hard time for having the last name. Like the only people I give a hard time if they have like first names for everything.
I guess I don't really give people a hard time for their name at all.
You know what I'm talking about?
2 first names?
Well, no, even their middle name is a first name.
Yeah, it's a little strange.
It's really it's like Jonathan David. You know.
Yeah, John David. Come on.
Yeah, because I think it's like Jonathan David William or something like that. And I was like, that's all first names. That's weird.
Yeah, and some people do win the name lottery. I think some names just are cooler than others. I'm trying to think. I met a guy
like Dick Schisler.
That is pretty amazing. Yeah. I have to admit.
I always like people trying to pronounce our last names.
Schizler and Bill
Schizler. Well, that's because of course 2 S's mean Z's and
naturally.
Yeah.
I did meet a guy one time. His name was Yaya, and I thought, man, that is so cool. I mean, it's out of the ordinary. It's different. Yaya. I like that better than what I'm rocking. Nah, I like my name. I've said that before, but whatever. Hey, man, when you were younger, did you ever play chess? Were you a chess guy?
I played occasionally. I didn't. The only thing I didn't have was consistency with it. Like I didn't have that one person who I played with all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather taught me how to play it, but he didn't really play it that much. It was more of like when we go to Galveston or we had like a rental house, and that was usually there's always a chess set.
Yeah,
in the
chess
rental house,
board there or whatever. Yeah,
and that's how we passed the time. But
I like chess. I played when I was younger. I haven't played since I've been an adult, probably. I was okay, and I was never really good. I do think it's one of those things where you have to do it all the time, and the more you do it, the better you are at it. I know if I were to play right now, I'd be rusty because you start developing strategies and have a plan, and you base certain moves off of other people's moves, et cetera, et cetera. I think I actually, in the 7th grade, joined the chess club, but it wasn't necessarily like an organized thing. It was just like some kids got together a couple of times a month and played against each other. Well, I have some news for you, Dick. Next time that you are going to play chess, the world's top chess federation has now made a ruling that transgender women cannot compete in its official events for females until a review of the situation has been made by officials. So I'm a little confused here, because to me, chess is a game that really
said they can't compete?
They cannot. So in other words, they're indicating that there is a separation between males and females in their capabilities to play chess. And I was a little surprised by that. One, that we have male and females that don't compete against each other in chess.
Well, it might be something where that federation that's their stuff, but there's probably other federations around the world for chess.
I mean, this is the world's top chess federation, it says here.
Yeah.
This is from The Guardian, so you know it has to be true. But yeah, the first thing that came to mind was why do we even separate by gender? I mean, I can understand in sports where physicalness really plays into it, but basically what you're saying is the ladies aren't as smart. They can't compete with the men in chess. That's essentially what they're saying. Well, I tend to disagree, ladies. I'm just saying.
No, I think that's fair. If that's what their federation wants to do.
I mean, I don't care necessarily, but it does kind of make you wonder why.
They don't want to change what has been working for so long.
I guess. But you're right. It's probably rooted in the fact of some old rules from chess back from the 1500s where men didn't want to compete against a woman because they were afraid they'd get beat. And they can't have that. Their little fragile, fragile male egos couldn't handle a woman beating them in chess, I bet.
If they've never allowed mixed play, then that's what they do. I don't. Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, they've never allowed it, but even the transgenders are not allowed to. So you don't have to worry about that in your next chess competition.
Are you saying if I identified as a dude, I couldn't play the dudes?
I guess so. This is only talking about men playing in the women. I don't know about the other way around. So if you were identifying as a female, you could not go compete against other females. You'd have to compete with the dudes in your nice, pretty.
You know what's so weird to me about that whole?
I
was thinking about this not too long ago about the whole sports and trans stuff. It's like, to me, when you get into the sporting world, it's all competition, right?
Yes, that is.
It's different.
Generally,
it's different from you and me
about.
doing the recreational soccer, like I was talking about earlier in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, so they want to compete. So just if they're a competitor, I don't think I would care who I was competing against because I just wanted to win no matter what game I'm playing.
Sounds right.
So let's see what happens.
Okay. All right. And chess should be no different than that, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that federation can do whatever they want. Like, there's other federations around the world that have chess stuff. So, I don't care what they're doing. I mean, that's their rules, and that's just the way it is. So if I was,
It is. I am going to abide by the rules. I'm not going to compete with the ladies, even though I'd like to. I'm going to compete against the men because I'm following the rules.
I would want. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I would just want to play. So if I have to check a box to play, I'll check a box to play.
Yeah, but if you were a transgender, you would not be so happy about this, I bet.
Well, yeah, but I would say, for example, if I identified as a woman, I would still, if the rules where I had to play with the guys, I would still play with the guys.
It's what you say now.
That's the rule.
I get it.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't, I want to play. I want to beat these people.
All right, man. Well, I think this is a pretty good time to take a break. When we come back, we've got some secret communities that we talked about living underneath the Denver airport. Well, we've got one that apparently is living under the streets of Las Vegas. Yeah. When we come back, guys, more AOOOOO show. Oh.
Okay, I know we're on a break, but
we were on a break.
I know we're on a break, but I'm getting tired of all these articles Andrew keeps sending me.
They're great, and you know it.
It's all trash.
Kind of the point.
But it got me thinking, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
You, the listener, can submit articles and ideas and topics.
Yeah, they can.
AudienceOfOneShow@gmail.com.
That's correct.
Or Facebook, look up Audience of One Show with Andrew and Dick.
Otherwise, you're subject to stories about kids sleeping outside that apparently Dick cannot stand.
No. I'm tired of this fake news, and I know the cancer that is growing within Audience of One is Andrew and his terrible articles. So we need stories.
Come on, man. It's not that bad.
We need stories. So send us your ideas at audienceofoneshow@gmail.com. And Facebook, Audience of One with Andrew and Dick.
That's us.
All right. So we look forward to hearing from you guys. And hopefully we have better topics on the next episode.
And if we don't and they're still terrible, I suppose it's my fault.
Yes. All right. We're back with Audience of One, Lone Star Community Radio.
Easy for you to say.
irlonestar.com/AOO. Always send in your comments, articles to us at audienceofoneshow@gmail.com. Follow us on social media. Just look up Audience of One Show. We also are on YouTube on Lone Star Community Radio, playlists under Audience of One, and of course podcast and all that kind of stuff. Coo.
You're so good at that. Such a smooth radio professional.
Yeah, but you know what sucks is, and people probably can tell because you can hear it in my voice. I'm at like the tail end of whatever cold I had, and so all that drainage is becoming solid, and it's just occasional emptying.
It makes for great radio voice.
And it sounds like a frog almost.
A little froggy.
I
will admit.
So
last week we neglected to talk about Bob Barker, and I fully planned on coming in here and talking about Bob Barker, but since then we had another kind of big celebrity death. And I thought, you know what? Everybody knows about Bob Barker now at this point. But the one that kind of hit over the weekend was Jimmy Buffett. He died at 76 years old. I was a little shocked. I didn't know that he apparently had skin cancer. He was melanoma or something like that. He'd been battling for the last several years.
Does it really surprise you, though?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, he's out there in Margaritaville all the time, out in the sun, drinking his margs and whatnot. So, yeah, R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett. But what I find the whole aura around him fascinating. And from what I've heard, and I didn't do any research, but from what I can remember is this whole Margaritaville and the restaurants and the parrot heads and all this stuff that surrounds his music was kind of started organically. And apparently back in the 70s when he was performing, his fans were calling themselves parrot heads and making their own merchandise with the Margaritaville. And somebody in his camp said, "You're not making a dime off this. You need to get a hold of this, get control of it." And I guess he took the rights to the Margaritaville, blah, 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 and just turned in massive profits. I mean, he's a billionaire now. I think he became a billionaire a couple of years ago for the first time. Unreal.
Well, there's a Margaritaville here in Conroe.
There is. I have played golf there.
Yeah? Is it good?
Yeah. I mean, it's an older Muni course that they purchased and put up some new signage, basically. But yeah, I actually really like it. It's nice. I haven't stayed there. It's a little pricey, and besides, why would I stay there? It's 30 minutes from my house. But what I didn't know about Jimmy Buffett, and I thought this was pretty funny, this kind of came back up in the news since his untimely passing. Did you know, like back in 1996, that his plane was attacked by Jamaican authorities and was like nearly shot down? I had no idea. Now, I knew that a couple years prior to that, like 94, he survived a plane crash because he was an avid pilot himself. And he was, I guess, taking off his plane, and something out of the corner of his eye, like, distracted him or something. I'm trying to remember the story. And he made a sudden movement, and the plane took off and then immediately nosedived and flipped. And he had to, like, swim to shore. And that was, like, yeah, kind of this iconic sort of story. But this one apparently happened 2 years later. And I had no idea. But apparently in January 16th, 1996, Buffett, an avid pilot, had just landed at an airport in Jamaica, accompanied by Paul Davidson, better known as Bono. I don't know if that's the Bono. Oh, yes, of the band U2. So this was actually with U2. How crazy. He said, we flew the plane in, got off, and as the plane took off to get fuel, we were surrounded by a Jamaican SWAT team. I thought it was a joke until I started hearing gunfire. So he actually wrote a song about this incident, and it's called Jamaica Mistake-a. Hey, man, never let a good opportunity go to the wayside. Pretty crazy. Had you heard about that?
No, I mean, Jimmy Buffett is one of those guys that I enjoy his music a lot, but there's never really a timeline on, like, because the music I liked from him was, like, from the 70s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always envisioned him being so old. So when he died, and he was only, like, mid-70s, I was like, he was that young?
He's been around forever.
But I always assumed he was just really old. And
yeah, it's not that old.
Kind of like Willie Nelson.
Yeah, well, he is really old.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought he was the same age as Willie Nelson.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, they were friends, I think, too. So it makes sense.
He's friends with everybody.
Well, that's true.
Come on. Especially when you have, I can't imagine him late in his career going like, oh, I don't have to sing anymore. And like Willie Nelson's like, I wish I came out with Margaritaville. Like,
right. And I wouldn't have to perform anymore.
Yeah, like, I feel like Jimmy Buffett, like at one point in like the late 90s, just was like, oh, I don't have to do this stuff anymore. And just kind of play whenever he wanted to play. And then kind of
own some restaurants and own some merch. I mean, he merched it better than anybody I can think of.
Yeah.
It's impressive, man. More power to him, but R.I.P. No longer with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan. I mean, a couple big hits. I guess the radio versions I knew, but I didn't know his deeper cuts.
Well, he has a lot of music.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he does.
He has a deep catalog. So
I have not explored it. I will have to, yes. You know, last week we talked about the rumors and myths surrounding the tunnels underneath the Denver airport and the fact that, lizard people live under there, because why not? Mm-hmm. Well, I found an article from MSN this past week, and this I find really fascinating because it is indeed true. And I don't know if you want to show the picture or not, but apparently
let me look for it.
There are secret underground communities that live in the tunnels under Las Vegas. And this is wild, man. And I've been to Vegas a lot. I think you've mentioned that you have never been. It's crazy. You definitely need to go at least once in your life. But apparently there are these tunnels, I guess, that were built for water, flood mitigation and things like this. But it rains so infrequently that people have decided they could actually go down there and start making camp and living down there. And there's entire communities of people that live underneath the city of Las Vegas. I have to say it's kind of frightening. Now, they have no electricity down there, so everything's set up with battery power and whatnot. But what is really even more interesting is that they've kind of created like these pseudo-governments. And so different tunnels will have different leaders or, authoritarian type people that will make order and make rules for the people who live there. And yeah, man, crazy. But they had that big storm that came through last week or so and flooded, because it doesn't take a lot of rain for there to be flooding in Las Vegas, because the water just kind of runs off the top of that sand and the water moves pretty quickly. My guess is a lot of these people got flooded bad, because they actually did get quite a bit of rain.
Yeah, I'm showing. I guess the article you sent was more of like a report about the homeless people.
So it says here that the origins are not for rain mitigation and flooding mitigation like I thought it was. It says that the their beginnings remain a mystery, and some say the tunnels began as a way for bootleggers to escape during the Prohibition era. But I said that's maybe just a misconception. But that would make sense, right? Because back in the day, right, when
the mafia days,
yeah,
that wasn't
the
during
mafia.
Prohibition though.
Well, it was
I think
like
Vegas,
1920s, right?
No,
Prohibition.
No. Oh no, I'm talking about Las Vegas starting.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe I guess that was before. Well, no, I don't know the history of Las Vegas, to be honest with you. But no, the government says, no, these are definitely to redirect water from the city. But of course, I love all of the myths, again, that surround about this. But what is not a myth is people do live under there. Scary, man. But they don't appear to have any lizard skin. They appear to be normal humans. How boring. What natural disaster do you fear the most? I mean, we talk about the hurricane there blowing through and flooding these people out. I think hurricanes, because we have such a good amount of warning for them, they don't scare me. Like, I'm scared of the earthquake. And I guess it's because I live here in Texas where we don't really have massive earthquakes. The threat of something without any warning shaking the earth to the degree that a building collapses in on you or something scares the living crap out of me. I think that one fears me the most. I mean, tornadoes, no doubt scary, but you got a few minutes. We're getting better at getting a few minutes warning. You know there's weather coming in, so the potential's going to be there. You can hide underneath, your stairs or whatever, or a mattress over you in the bathtub. But, man, earthquake, kind of freaky. Which one do you fear the most?
I imagine a tornado being pretty hectic because you're imagine getting sucked up and then thrown.
Stories, yeah.
And thrown. So it's kind of like, and you might survive, so it'd be painful. Earthquakes, I think that is interesting. I think that volcanoes would be interesting.
Ooh, volcano! I didn't even think about that.
That would be interesting. I think a tsunami would be intense.
Yeah. I guess you have very little warning on a tsunami too. I mean, and even if you do have, I don't know, maybe a half hour, where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, my gosh.
But I think ultimately, recently that's the big topic is the fires. Wildfires is really scary because that can change in a second, and then you're trapped, and then you're kind of like, what do you do? But then again, I think any natural disaster scenario is pretty scary.
They are pretty scary, but I think the earthquake is my most feared natural
earthquakes
event.
there wouldn't really be an earthquake here.
Yeah, I know.
So I wouldn't be afraid. Like now, if you went to somewhere that there's a lot of earthquakes,
I travel.
So
yeah, I mean, I travel. I get around. They could be prevalent where I'm traveling to, and I think it's always going to be in the back of my mind.
Hurricanes are pretty
nice. Could be the big one.
I've been in several hurricanes before, and that's where it gets crazy, especially in Galveston, because that's where some of my family is from Galveston. So it's it's such a normal thing.
Yeah.
But then
we're used to it.
When it goes to 11, you're like, oh, maybe this isn't normal, and it gets pretty wild.
Right. Yeah, I mean, small tropical storms, no big deal. Small, Cat 1, Cat 2, maybe not, but starts getting to Cat 3, Cat 4. It is kind of scary because inside of hurricanes, of course, there can be tornadoes and whatnot. Well, I was not aware that apparently there is a way of measuring the intensity of a hurricane that's a little bit obscure. Have you heard of the Waffle House Index?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you have? It's kind of cool. Where did you hear about it? Just sort of.
I love the Waffle House. So it's always an ongoing joke. If it's closed, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. So that's basically what it is. It's not a recognized, obviously a recognized index by FEMA, but apparently they will call Waffle Houses to see if they're open because they have a reputation for being open all the time. And if they're open, then the threat is not as bad. But if a Waffle House is closed, boy, this is a bad situation. The disaster afterwards could be pretty severe. But that's kind of cool, right? I mean, to use a local business like that.
Yeah.
So anyways, they've got different levels, though. So the index has 3 levels based on the extent of operations and the service at the restaurant following a storm. Green, full menu. Restaurant has power and damage is minimal or absent. Yellow, limited menu. Power is either absent or delivered by a generator, or food supplies are running low. And then there's red. The restaurant is closed. This indicates severe damage or severe flooding, severe destruction to the restaurant. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know, over the Labor Day, the first Waffle House opened for the museum. In
the
Georgia.
first
I forgot where in
Waffle
Georgia.
House opened for
So
the museum.
they renovated the first Waffle House.
And made it into a museum?
Made it into a museum.
Wow. Okay, no, I wasn't aware of this.
Yeah.
And you said it's where?
It opened. It's in Georgia somewhere. I can look it up.
Is that where Georgia? No, I don't care. Is that where? I guess that's where they started.
Yeah, but it opened up over the weekend. I got an email about it.
Huh.
From my Waffle House crew.
Oh, wow. You gonna go? You gonna book some tickets to head out there?
I did say to one of my buddies, I was like, if we ever go on a road trip towards Georgia, I think I would probably. It's kind of like seeing the big ball yarn or something like that.
Right.
It's like, what a silly tourist thing. But then again, I was like, that'd be kind of cool, especially if you could eat there. That'd be even better. That'd be cool to say I ate at the first Waffle House.
Yeah, I would think that they would restore it to the fact where they could, serve food there. But I guess they figure they've got enough other stores to generate revenue. Do they have the first waffle ever made? That would be interesting to see if it's survived all these years. They preserved it somehow in some glass case.
Hopefully they cleaned the restaurant.
No, I mean, you know how places will have like the first dollar they ever made up on like a glass case on the wall or something. Yeah, you get the first waffle. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right next to the head they found.
Well, no, this got me thinking, though, because I saw on social media people, we're talking about stupid TikTok trends and everything.
All the time.
Well, apparently a trend that's going around is people going to famous places and screwing with it. So kind of like what we were talking about with the Coliseum, writing your name.
Oh, right.
So recently there was a kid who, on a tour of Elvis's house, he jumped the fence and used the diving board to jump in the pool so he could swim in Elvis's pool.
Was there still water in it?
Yeah.
That's interesting because I've been to Graceland and I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is kind of not operational, so I'm surprised they keep water. I guess because it would look stupid without water. So he got to swim in it.
And then I was thinking to myself,
he's going to do time, but it is kind of a cool reason to do time.
Yeah.
And I wonder what the actual punishment would be.
That's what I was thinking of, because there's certain areas.
It's not breaking and entering. It's just probably trespassing, which is probably, a fine. And he can say, yeah, I paid off the fine, but I swam in Elvis's pool.
Yeah. And what I was
Worth it.
I was going to ask you, what do you think you would be willing to risk just so you could say you did it?
I don't want to do any time. So if there's time involved, I'm probably not doing it.
If
there's a fine, if there's a fines, I would risk a fine, and then I have to assess the level of fine with what I'm doing. So like, if I were to run out on a baseball game and high five one of the outfielders, and the fine was like $5,000, not worth it.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's not worth it. If it were $500, maybe, but that's not a really cool story. It would have to be something like swimming in Elvis's pool. I would swim in Elvis's pool for $1,000, especially if I could live stream it for the show. I could use it for show content, something like that. But you've got to have. See, that's the problem too with people being able to monetize these things with cell phones. Now they're doing all of this crazy stuff because they're like, I might get fined, it might be illegal or whatever, but I'm going to make it up on the back end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, because I always wondered when you visited like the founding fathers' houses and stuff like that. Have you ever done anything like that, like Mount Vernon and things like that?
I have not been up there to
so growing up,
Washington D.C. I'd love to go.
My dad is huge. Of course, my dad's a huge history guy because every dad is. So growing up, that's what we would do. We would, visit Gettysburg, visit old houses and everything. And it always made me wonder, like when you're going through Thomas Edison's house or something like that, and you're kind of like, what? Like, do people like use any of this stuff? Like, does anyone like, I want to sit in Thomas Jefferson's chair, or that kind of thing.
The guy with the Viking helmet that busted into the White House probably would go in there and put his feet up. I mean,
yeah.
No, I don't think any of that stuff gets used. No, I think it's probably
not used, but it's more of like at one point this stuff is like, what do we care? Do we really care about this stuff?
Somebody does.
So I don't know
enough to preserve it, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know what what I would risk for that. I don't really know anything that's like historical that I would want to like mess with. Like I don't really care.
Again, you have to weigh out the benefits, and are you going to be able to monetize it? It's all about monetization these days, man. Otherwise, there's no point to it. Or if the story itself means that much to you, you may not monetize it, but being able to tell the story, you're the cool guy who got to.
Like, I think it'd be pretty cool to be on top of Mount Rushmore and get a picture with that, like on top of the heads.
Are you not allowed to go up there?
No, I don't think you're gonna like climb it.
Yeah, probably not.
I think
but once you get up a certain distance,
like I would,
they're just gonna let you climb, right? Until you get up to the top.
I would climb up into one of the noses, and then I would take a picture.
Of course.
So that's the only thing I can think of would be fun.
Yeah, because once you start going, they're not gonna get you down. They're gonna let you climb all the way up to the top, and as soon as you get to the top, they're gonna.
Or you can
they're gonna arrest you.
Creep people out and touch like Jesus's cloth. face cloth that the Catholic people have.
Mm-hmm.
Like put your face in it too.
Oh,
that
would offend some people.
that would
make you famous. You'd probably get a fine for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe do some time if they think you're desecrating some sort of sacred artifact. Oh, man, I saw this article, and it made me think of you. There is a man who has been charged with driving under the influence, which unfortunately happens, but this is while operating a child's Power Wheel. Love this, man. You know what I mean when I say Power Wheel, right?
Yeah. Have you seen the souped up ones?
I think that's kind of what this is. At least that's what this picture looks like. This is a Jeep. What do you mean souped up? Like, do they haul butt?
No, people like mod them.
No.
Yeah, here, I'll see if I can find one.
That sounds awesome, though. Is it like Pimp My Ride Power Wheels edition?
Yeah.
Is that showing my age? Pimp My Ride. That's not even around anymore. It says a man was recently charged with driving under the influence in a kid's Power Wheels Jeep when he was pulled over by Indiana State Police. That's right. According to the report last week at approximately 9 p.m., Indiana State Trooper Buchanan observed a male operating a Power Wheel in the roadway in Vincennes, Indiana. Oh, boy. He said that the vehicle had no lights or reflectors and was difficult to see. No kidding. He said the 51-year-old also displayed signs of impairment and failed field sobriety tests. Dick, this is going to be your legacy. One of these days, you're going to own a Power Wheel and you're going to do something stupid with it. I can see this. But it does kind of make you wonder, though, I guess, do the same laws apply when you're on the road with a Power Wheel? I guess so. You can't be under the influence. I mean, my God, if that were the case, people on the golf course with golf carts would...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there ain't a sober one of them out there. Just saying.
So,
but I didn't realize that. Are you showing this video now?
Yeah, I'm going to show this video.
Oh, this guy, is awesome.
This guy modded a Power Wheel.
So, yeah, for those of you who are on podcast, you can't see it, but watching on YouTube, Facebook, there is what appears to be like a Porsche. Is that what that is, maybe? And he's able to pop wheelies with it.
Oh, yeah.
So he's modded it out to
he
the
put real tires on it.
Oh, it's got rubber tire? Oh,
he modded it. Like, that's what I'm
amazing.
saying. They go, look at this. He's like building a miniature car.
Yeah, at this point, it's probably just a car. I mean, it's...
But I think the mod, like the body is a Power Wheel.
Power Wheel, yeah. At the end of the day, it's probably the only thing that's original to the Power Wheel. It's just the outside, because this looks like it's got...
No, but then I've seen people do, like, they upgrade the batteries and everything.
Yeah.
And then the plastic tires just run out. So it's like...
It is funny how, we're obsessed with cars and car culture in this country, because I remember as a kid being absolutely fascinated with those things and wanting one so bad. I'd go into the, the Toys R Us, the Walmart, or whatever.
I was more of a go-kart guy.
And I'd see them and just be like, wow, look at that. That's
like, I didn't want a Power Wheel. I wanted a go-kart. But that's mainly because my brothers were older, so they got to ride the go-kart if we went somewhere. I'm like, can I ride the go-kart too? I
guess as I got a little older, I had a four-wheeler when I was a kid, but I was a little older too.
You're not the oldest kid, right?
I am the youngest.
Yeah, but so I always grew up in that mentality of like, I don't want to do anything what like people my age are doing. I want to be doing what my older brothers are doing. Yeah. And so I never got into like the Power Wheel.
I think it's because they looked like real cars to me, and that was just magical.
Well, go-karts are tight.
Yeah, but go-karts are cool.
Like, have you seen this place? I always wanted to visit it. They've been in the studio several times, but it's over New Caney, and it's a racetrack. But it's like go-karts. But it's a legit racetrack. Not like, oh, we're going to Celebration Station or like stuff like that. Yeah. It's like, no, you have to pay a lot of money, and you have to have a driver's license to ride these go-karts.
Whoa. I think you actually have to have a driver's license and if they go over a certain speed, I think. I don't think that's uncommon, but so these must be pretty quick.
Oh, yeah. You
got to wear a helmet and whatnot. I'm always the guy when I go to those things that gets the slow one. And so I'm racing around a bunch of kids. You about to die over there, buddy? You all right? Swallow the wrong way? And I'm doing AOO by myself now. Dick has left the building. And I've always get the slow one, and there's some like 12-year-old kid who's lapping me, and there's nothing more embarrassing. Again, it's like playing basketball against little kids and them whooping your ass. It's like, oh man, come on, it's my car. I promise, it's my car. I always get the slow one. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I got kicked out of a place one time.
Oh, what were you doing?
Driving recklessly.
No way.
It was fun. It was worth it.
See, there you go. It was worth it. You got to weigh it out. Now you got a story for the radio.
The guy was like, he warned me, and I was like, I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just like, I want to go fast. So sorry that I'm fishtailing.
I want to go fast. And that's your Fast and Furious.
Well, he got me. You can't fishtail.
What?
And I was like, well, I don't mean to.
What's the point if you can't?
I'm trying to beat the track record, bro. How do you?
Right.
But
so some of those
I
are
wasn't
like
even hitting anybody. I wasn't like bumping it because I know that
controlled chaos is what you.
Yeah,
know,
and
right?
I was just trying to.
I
see
think
how
Dick's
fast
trying
I
to
could
tell us
go.
without telling us he's a really good go-kart driver.
No, I love.
I'm able to fishtail, not hit people, man. That's what I do.
No, I was definitely spinning out, but I could correct it and get it back on the track real fast.
I have been to one of those where they're designed to slide. They're called like ice tracks, and it's not actually ice. The tracks are metal,
Yeah.
and tires are slick.
Well, this place
and so
was
you
a-
slide around the corners
This
and
place was
everything.
a renovated Kmart, so it's all inside. Is all
Sounds
inside.
legit.
It was tight.
Yeah.
and it was.
This is the place where you have to sign a waiver before you go in.
Yeah, 100%.
If you
And-
die while you're here, not on us.
But it was really weird. Like the guy just had like he out for me, and I was like, "Are you really giving me that big of a hard time?" Because after like the fourth ride, he's like, "You can't ride anymore. You gotta get out of here." And I'm like, "But I didn't hit anybody." And he's like, "Yeah, but
breaking the rules, dude.
but
Breaking the rules.
You're just gonna kill yourself."
Like,
if
come
you
on,
go
this is an old Kmart.
Yeah.
I should build a fishtail.
Well, I mean, he might have had a point. I mean, it might have been like I could have hurt myself.
How old were you? Were you a kid or are you an
Oh
adult?
no, I was 24,
Okay,
25.
an adult.
I just
Should've
want to
known
go
better.
fast.
That's right. Just want to go fast,
Just
man.
want to go fast,
Just
man.
want to go fast. From ABC 7 News, staying on the automobile. This is the AOO Automobile Minute. From Asheville, North Carolina, a woman is fighting to keep her vanity license plate. I know you've always wanted to get Dick IV, and I think there was some conjecture whether or not you were actually able to have Dick IV
No, I
as a
think I
license plate.
can. I think I can.
Well, she is fighting to keep her license plate that says fart. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. The license plate
That's pretty good.
yes.
Fart.
Yes. So
What kind of car is it? What kind of car?
I don't know, but it says
if it was like a smart car or something like that, that would be great.
yeah. So it says Carly Sidney of Asheville said the DMV approved her personalized license plate back in October, and she was a bit surprised but excited when she received the plate in the mail. She put it on her truck and went along her merry way, driving around town with "fart" in all capitals on the back of her pickup. But then on February 25th, she received a letter in the mail from the DMV, and the letter stated that the DMV had received some complaints about her license plate. Come on, people. Who's complaining about this?
Well, who finds the phone number to complain?
You're right.
Like that is some dedication. And I always wondered that, like, how many times, because it's like, for example, when you're sitting in a restaurant, it's so easy to complain because it's right there.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, give me the manager. Blah, blah. But like when it comes to certain aspects of filling, like seeing the license plate or seeing the bumper sticker or seeing, the T-shirt, it's like, do you really dial 911 to complain about a fart license plate?
Seriously.
Do you think people dial 911?
Somebody's offended by everything. The DMV asked Cindy to respond, explaining what the plate meant to her and why it was important. Get this. This is the best part of the story. She and some friends put their heads together and came up with an attempt to save the fart license plate. They decided to tell the DMV that it was an acronym for a completely made-up group, Friends of Asheville Recreational Trails. I love these people, man. Sounds like a chick you'd want to hang out with. They completely made it up. However, the state didn't buy it, and she is no longer able to keep her fart license plate.
That's crap. That's crap.
So to speak, as it were.
Pretty much, yeah, it was crap.
Yeah, man. But she says they've actually tried to make it legit, and they tried to actually form a group. I mean, they're really serious about keeping this. And 15 people showed up at the group's first meeting. And they were trying to sell promotional stickers and T-shirts to keep this thing going. Man, that is sticking true to the bit. That license plate does mean a lot to her.
Yeah.
But it is not legit, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you hear about the this a town in Maine that is attempting to become the home for the world's largest flagpole?
Not a flag.
Not a flag,
but
flagpole.
flagpole.
And they want to make this higher than the Empire State Building. It's a $1 billion project dubbed the Flagpole of Freedom Park. America, baby, America. But it's intended to, quote, bring Americans together, remind them of the centuries of sacrifice made to protect our freedom, and unite a divided America, which, of course, it will not do at all. But I am always amused by how these small towns try, and apparently this town only has like 450 people, try to basically, well, yes, I understand they probably love America, right? I get it. They're trying to be patriotic. They're just trying to bring in some tourist dollars into their town and using this as an excuse. Totally cool. I get it.
Largest yarn ball.
Yeah, exactly. But I bet you that yarn ball didn't cost $1 billion to build. And I don't know where they're going to get this money. I guess they're probably going to be asking for donations and whatnot. But I have to ask you, would this be a place that you'd want to go visit just to see a flagpole? Now, it's going to be more than just a tall, like, regular pole. It's going to be basically like a building with a tall, flagpole at the top.
Tall as the Empire State Building.
Taller, yeah.
In this little tiny town.
Yeah. It's going to look
I guarantee the FAA or whatever it is. What's the flight people? Who are the flight people?
The FAA.
Oh, yeah, FAA. I was right. Thank you.
I think it is.
Yeah. I could see them saying no.
No, because it's like a danger. But there's no one flying over this probably rural part of Maine, you think?
Well, people are flying.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, hey, you know that huge open part of
Maine?
Maine?
To dodge it. Come on.
There's a giant pole there now. So you probably can't see it.
Yeah.
But just watch it.
Well, I think you should be able to dodge it. If you're a licensed pilot, come on, man. It's a flagpole. Miss it. Turn to the right.
Well,
Pull up, go over it.
I think there's rules about how high you can build stuff in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, probably so. Here, it's talking about like owning the airspace.
You're not just building like an antenna. You're building something taller than the Empire State Building.
Merca. Hey, I wanted to do this story. I don't know if we have enough time about Airbnbs. Are you an Airbnb guy? You ever stayed at an Airbnb?
I've used it.
Yeah. Have you ever been concerned that there might be cameras in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've thought about this.
Well, I mean...
Because if you go to a regular hotel, the assumption is there's no cameras in there. But an Airbnb is a house that just belongs to somebody. Some weirdo could be putting cameras all over the place in that thing, right?
I mean, it's just the risk you're going to take.
Well, Airbnb prohibits the placement of cameras by hosts in private places, which it defines as bedrooms, bathrooms, or common areas that are being used as sleeping areas, like a living room with a sofa bed. But it does allow for the use of cameras in public and common spaces, but requires that hosts disclose the camera's presence and locations of their listings. Man, I don't know. For whatever reason, this thought never crossed my mind that somebody might actually do this. But from PCMag.com, they've actually said, here are some tips when trying to find hidden cameras. It says the easiest, most low-tech way to find a camera is to perform the kind of search that is cheap, right? Turn off all the lights, sweep a flashlight around the room, and look for reflections that might indicate a lens, right? Go slowly, since a glint from the lens can be a pinpoint small object.
I believe it.
We live in an area or a time when we have to do this. And the second one here is check the mirrors. If they lift off the wall, you can peek behind them. If they're bolted on, you can check whether they are two-way, once again by turning off the lights and holding up a flashlight to the mirror and searching its surface. If you only see your flashlight's reflection, the mirror is likely not two-way. But if you see an area behind the mirror, it's a two-way mirror. Man, all of a sudden, I don't want to stay at an Airbnb now. I'm like kind of creeped out about this, thinking, man, there are some weird people in this world. And how hard would it be if you've got a house to hook it up with? If you're already running cameras, how hard would it be to put another one in there?
I mean, it's kind of one of those deals where, depending on the house, like imagine you're staying at like a $4,000 a weekend house.
Uh-huh.
There's probably going to be cameras.
That's what I'm thinking.
Areas.
They want to protect their investment. And it says the last one here is scan the Wi-Fi network. As a guest, you likely have access to your rental's Wi-Fi, which allows you to perform a scan. Download a Wi-Fi scanner app, and it will see which devices are connected. So if basically you're looking for things like cameras and you're looking at the number of cameras and all the devices that are connected to it, and there's more connected than you can find, there's some hidden ones. Watching you do your business.
There's cameras in here.
There you go, man. That was our AOO PSA for the week. You know, last week I promised we were going to have talk about sex robots. But in researching sex robots, I realized there's probably no way I could legitimately do that story over the radio. And so I'm going to skip that. Sorry.
Thank you.
AOO listeners, the onesies will have to be deprived of what it takes to make a good and effective sex robot. As you can imagine, there's a lot that goes into it, so use your imagination. That's all I got for this week, guys. It was a lot of fun. Dick, thanks again.
Yeah, it's good to see you,
believe
man.
This was episode number 30, I think. If not, we're around in there.
Happy 30.
Can't believe we made it to 30.
I want to let the Wednesdays know we're here every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on Lone Star Community Radio, podcast, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. Just look up Lone Star Community Radio or look up Audience in One Show.
Like, follow, share. See you next week, guys.